No one came to the alien girl's birthday for 7 years, until a man arrived with a cake. Sorry I'm late. The sky was painted in shades of violet and gold, and the wind carried the scent of wild alien flowers that grew in the valleys below. Her silver skin shimmered slightly under the fading light, and her large, dark eyes reflected the colors of the sky. She had been waiting all day, like every year, hoping someone, anyone, would come to celebrate her birthday. For 7 years, she had been alone. Every year she decorated her small home with whatever she could find. Strings of glowing crystals, colorful alien petals, and tiny carved statues she made herself. Each decoration held a story or a memory, a piece of her hope that someone in the galaxy might remember her. Every year she baked small treats, sweet, spongy cakes filled with glimmering fruit from her planet, each carefully shaped into tiny stars and moons. She arranged them on her table, imagining the laughter of friends as they reached for the treats. But the laughter never came. Still, Lyria never gave up hope. She believed that somewhere out there in the vast stretches of space, there were beings who would understand her. She hummed softly as she worked, her voice blending with the gentle hum of the wind outside. Her melodies were simple, yet they carried her longing and her dreams. Maybe this year, she whispered to herself, someone will come. The years had been difficult, but Lyria had learned to find small joys in her life. She spent hours exploring the forests near her home, watching strange birds with feathers like liquid light, and listening to the rivers that glowed faintly under the sun's rays. She collected shiny stones and peculiar plants, arranging them carefully on shelves around her home. Each one reminded her of beauty in the world, even if she was alone. Despite the solitude, she remained cheerful. Her alien neighbors often traveled to other planets for trade or study, leaving her home quiet for months at a time. Still, she decorated and baked, hoping that one day someone would notice. Sometimes small starships would pass through the skies, leaving trails of light. She would wave at them, imagining the faces inside smiling back at her. But none ever stopped. This year, Lyria's birthday began like every other. She awoke early, before the twin suns fully rose, and prepared her home. She dusted the shelves of her stones and plants, arranged her decorations, and carefully placed her treats on the table. The air inside her home smelled sweet, a mix of her baked goods and the faint scent of glowing flowers. She took a deep breath and smiled. "I hope someone comes this time," she said softly, as if speaking to the walls themselves. She spent the morning outside, checking the paths that led to her home. The forest was alive with creatures she knew well. The small, luminous insects that flitted through the air like tiny stars, the tall, gentle herbivores that grazed near the rivers, and the birds with long, iridescent tails that sang songs she often tried to mimic. She waved at them, sharing her joy with the world even though no one else was there. As the suns climbed higher, Lyria returned inside. She placed the final touches on her birthday table, a small crystal vase filled with petals, a tiny carved candle shaped like a star, and a card she had written herself, filled with drawings and simple words that wished for friendship and laughter. Then she sat quietly, waiting. Hours passed. She watched the sky, her hopes rising with every passing starship trail, only to sink again when none approached. Still, she kept her spirits high. She hummed, she sang, she danced alone in her home, letting the music fill the empty spaces. By late afternoon, a soft rain began to fall. It was unusual for this time of year, but the drops shimmered like tiny diamonds in the fading light. Lyria stepped outside, letting the rain touch her skin. It felt cold but refreshing, and she laughed softly as it ran down her arms. "I'll never stop hoping," she said aloud. "Even if no one comes, I will celebrate myself." The rain ended as the suns dipped lower, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and purple. Lyria returned inside, wet but happy. She lit her small, star-shaped candle and placed it in the center of the table. The light flickered softly, casting gentle shadows across the walls. She sat down and picked up a small plate of her treats, tasting them one by one. They were sweet and warm, and she smiled as she ate, imagining the smiles of friends who might someday share them with her. She set the plate down and looked out the window, watching the first stars appear in the darkening sky. For a long time, she just sat there, thinking about the galaxy beyond her home. She imagined other planets filled with life, humans and aliens alike, traveling through space, meeting new friends and sharing stories. She longed to be part of that world, to feel the warmth of friendship and the joy of celebration. As night fell, she finally spoke softly, almost to herself. Maybe next year someone will come, maybe next year. Despite the sadness in her voice, there was a quiet strength there as well. Lyria had learned to endure, to find joy even in loneliness. Her heart was full of hope, and that hope carried her through every year. She believed that one day the galaxy would answer her longing, and someone would arrive. She blew out the small candle, watching the smoke rise and disappear into the night. She cleaned up her treats, arranged her decorations neatly, and prepared her home for sleep. Even alone, she felt a sense of peace. She lay down in her small bed, staring at the ceiling as the stars twinkled above. "I will not give up," she whispered. "I will wait for them, I will believe." And with that, she closed her eyes, letting sleep take her into dreams filled with distant worlds, friendly faces, and laughter she hoped would one day fill her home. Outside, the winds of the alien forest sang softly through the trees, as if carrying her hopes into the galaxy. Somewhere far away, perhaps another being looked up at the same stars, unaware of the lonely girl who dreamed of friendship. But for now, Lyria slept, surrounded by her small world of beauty and hope, her heart full of patience, courage, and the quiet certainty that someday someone would arrive. The next morning, Lyria awoke to the soft hum of her home. Sunlight spilled across her room, glinting off the crystals she had hung the day before. She stretched and walked to the window, scanning the sky for any signs of movement. The twin suns were rising slowly, turning the sky from deep purple to a pale gold. She smiled at the familiar colors, but her hope flickered faintly. Another birthday had passed, and once again she had been alone. She decided to spend the morning exploring the forest. She loved the forest, even if it could be strange and unpredictable. The trees were taller than any building she had ever seen, their trunks smooth and silver, and their leaves shimmered like small pools of light. Strange flowers bloomed everywhere, glowing faintly even in daylight. Lyria loved to run her fingers over the petals, feeling the soft textures and inhaling the sweet scents. As she wandered deeper into the forest, she heard an unusual sound, a low hum different from the usual sounds of the wildlife. She paused, tilting her head. It was rhythmic, mechanical, but soft, almost like music. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be someone? She ran lightly toward the sound, careful not to make a loud noise that might scare it away. Through the trees, she spotted a small craft hovering just above the ground. Its design was unlike anything she had seen on her planet, sleek, smooth, metallic, with soft blue lights blinking along its edges. A figure stepped out. He was human, tall and lean, wearing a suit that seemed built for space travel. His hair was dark, and his eyes sparkled with curiosity and warmth. He paused, scanning the forest with interest. Lyria froze behind a tree. She had never seen a human in person before, only heard stories from traders who passed by her planet. Her heart raced, a mixture of fear and excitement. The human looked around again, seemingly unaware of her presence. He crouched to examine a flower, gently touching its petals as if trying to understand it. Lyria's curiosity overcame her shyness. She stepped forward, careful to make herself visible but not threatening. "Hello," she said softly. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. The man looked up sharply, surprised. Then a smile spread across his face. "Hello," he replied, his tone friendly and warm. "I didn't expect to see anyone here." Lyria took a small step forward. Who are you?" she asked. "My name is Ethan," the human said, standing up straight. "I travel across the stars, learning about new worlds and meeting different beings, and you are?" I'm Lyria," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She studied him carefully. You're human?" "Yes," Ethan replied. "From a planet called Earth. I study life in different parts of the galaxy. And I think I might have found someone very interesting today." He smiled gently, his eyes kind. "Would you mind if I came closer?" Lyria hesitated, then nodded. She stepped aside, allowing him to approach. He moved carefully, respectful of her space. When he reached her, he looked around at the forest, clearly impressed. "This is beautiful," he said softly. "Your home, your world, it's incredible. I can see why you would be proud of it." Lyria's heart fluttered. She had never had anyone speak to her with such genuine interest before. Most traders who passed by barely noticed her, and even the aliens from neighboring planets rarely stopped to talk. She felt a warmth she had not known in years. I live nearby," she said cautiously. "I wait for friends to come, but they never do." She looked down, her hands twisting nervously. Every year I hope someone will come, but they never do. Ethan's expression softened. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That must be very lonely. But I'm here now, and I promise I won't leave until I get to know you. I want to learn about your life, your world, your birthday, if you don't mind. Lyria blinked. No one had ever said something like that to her before. Birthday, she whispered. It's today. Ethan's face lit up. Really? That's perfect. Then I came at the right time, may I? He gestured toward her home. Lyria nodded shyly. Together they walked back through the forest. As they moved, Lyria showed him some of her favorite places. The river that glowed faintly in the sunlight, the trees with silver bark, and the fields of luminescent flowers. Ethan listened intently, asking questions and marveling at every detail. He seemed genuinely amazed, and Lyria felt her excitement growing. She had waited for someone to share her world for so long, and now here he was. When they reached her home, Lyria invited him inside. She pointed out the decorations she had made, the small treats on the table, and the tiny carved statues she had spent hours crafting. Ethan's eyes widened in admiration. You did all this yourself? He asked. Lyria nodded, a shy smile forming. I try. I like to make things beautiful even if I'm alone. It makes me happy. Ethan looked around, taking in the care and effort she had put into her home. It's amazing, he said softly. You have a gift, Lyria. Most beings wouldn't take the time to do all this, especially alone. You have a very special heart. Lyria's cheeks flushed slightly. No one had ever complimented her like that before. She felt a mixture of pride and surprise. Thank you, she said quietly. I've waited a long time for someone to notice. Ethan smiled warmly. Well, you're not alone anymore, he said. I'm here now and I want to celebrate with you. Can we? Lyria hesitated, then nodded. She led him to the table and showed him the small, star-shaped candle she had prepared. It's my birthday tradition, she explained. I light the candle and hope that someone will be with me. Ethan's eyes softened. He knelt beside her and said, Then today, Lyria, I will be with you. We will celebrate together. They sat down at the table, and Lyria showed him the treats she had baked. Ethan tried them carefully, his face lighting up with delight. These are incredible, he said. I've never tasted anything like them. You are truly talented. Lyria smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in years. She watched Ethan's reactions, noticing the genuine joy in his expressions. For the first time, she felt that her hope and patience had been rewarded. As the sun set and the first stars appeared in the sky, Ethan and Lyria talked for hours. He asked about her life, her dreams, and the creatures that lived on her planet. She told him stories of the forest, the glowing rivers, and the strange birds that sang in the mornings. He listened with rapt attention, asking questions and marveling at every detail. Lyria found herself laughing, something she hadn't done freely in years. Ethan shared stories of his travels, of distant planets and the beings he had met along the way. He spoke of the galaxy's vastness and the importance of kindness, connection, and understanding. Lyria listened, fascinated by his tales, and she realized that even though she had been alone for so long, the universe still held friends she had yet to meet. As the night deepened, Lyria noticed a small holographic device on Ethan's wrist. He saw her gaze and smiled. It helps me navigate the stars, he explained. It also reminds me of the people I've met and the places I've been. Now I think it should remind me of you, Lyria, and this day. She watched as the device projected a tiny, shimmering map of her planet, highlighting the paths through the forest, her home, and the glowing rivers. Lyria's eyes widened in wonder. It's beautiful, she whispered. I've never seen anything like this before. Ethan nodded. I wanted to remember your world and this moment. You deserve to be remembered, Lyria, not just today, but always. The gentle hum of the forest, the soft glow of the stars, and the warmth of Ethan's presence made Lyria feel a sense of belonging she had never known. For the first time in 7 years, she realized that her waiting, her hope, and her patience had not been in vain. Someone had finally come. Before leaving that night, Ethan stood beside her and looked at the sky. I will come back, he said softly. And next year maybe others will join us too. But for now I am here, and that is what matters. Lyria nodded, a smile spreading across her face. She felt a joy so deep it filled every corner of her being. For 7 long years she had waited, and now she had found a friend, a human who had crossed the stars just to be with her. She watched him leave, her heart light but full of hope for the future. She knew that this was only the beginning of something wonderful. The galaxy was vast, and friendships could form in the most unexpected places. Lyria felt ready to explore, ready to share, and ready to live knowing that connection, kindness, and hope were always worth the wait. And for the first time, as she lay down to sleep that night, Lyria felt truly seen, truly understood, and truly happy. The next day, Lyria woke with a sense of excitement she hadn't felt in years. The memory of Ethan's visit lingered in her mind, and she moved through her morning routines with an unusual lightness. She prepared her home carefully, straightening decorations and arranging her glowing crystal strings. Today, she felt that something special was going to happen. She couldn't explain why, but her heart was full of hope and anticipation. The twin suns climbed high in the sky, casting their golden light across the mountains and forests of her world. Lyria stepped outside, letting the warmth touch her silver skin. She moved through the forest with ease, greeting familiar creatures as she went. The glowing birds flitted past her, singing their soft morning songs. The herbivores watched her with gentle eyes, unafraid. Even the insects that shimmered like tiny stars seemed to hum a brighter tune. Everything felt alive, as if the forest itself understood her excitement. By midday, she returned home and checked the table she had prepared for her birthday. Everything was in place: the star-shaped candle in the center, the small treats neatly arranged, and the tiny carved statues smiling silently from their shelves. She glanced at the door and imagined Ethan returning. Her heart leaped each time she thought of him, remembering how kind and gentle he had been. Then, just as the twin suns began their slow descent, she heard a soft hum in the distance. It was different from any sound the forest made naturally, yet familiar somehow. Lyria froze and listened carefully. The sound grew closer, a soft, steady rhythm that made her pulse quicken. Could it be? A small spacecraft emerged from the trees, its smooth metal surface reflecting the sunlight. Lyria's eyes widened. The ship landed gently on the soft ground outside her home. The doors opened and out stepped Ethan. He carried something small but carefully wrapped in glowing paper. His eyes met hers, and a warm smile spread across his face. "Sorry I'm late," he said, his voice gentle but full of energy. "I didn't want to miss your birthday." Lyria blinked, feeling her chest tighten with joy. For 7 long years, she had celebrated alone, imagining friends who never came. And now here was Ethan, standing at her doorstep, holding a small cake for her. She wanted to run to him, to hug him, but her legs felt heavy with disbelief. Ethan walked forward carefully, respecting the small space around her. "I thought," he said softly, "that today should be special. You've waited so long, and I wanted to make sure someone shared it with you." He placed the cake on the table. It was small, decorated with delicate designs that glowed faintly, shaped like stars and moons, reflecting the planets and galaxies Lyria had always dreamed of visiting. Lyria reached out and touched the cake, amazed by the care Ethan had taken. It's beautiful," she whispered. I never thought someone would come." Ethan shook his head gently. "You've waited long enough," he said. "I may have been late, but I'm here now, and I'm going to celebrate with you if you'll let me." Her lips curved into a shy smile. "Yes, please." They sat together at the table, the small cake glowing softly between them. Lyria took a deep breath, and together they lit the star-shaped candle. She had done this alone for years, but now, with someone beside her, it felt different, warm, comforting, and full of joy. Ethan watched her carefully, his eyes bright with admiration. "You have a special way of celebrating," he said. "Even alone, you made it beautiful." "And now we get to share it." Lyria smiled, feeling her heart swell. It's the first time I've ever had a friend here," she said softly. "For 7 years I've waited, and now—" She trailed off, her voice catching. Ethan reached across the table, placing a hand gently over hers. "And now you're not alone," he said simply. "Today we celebrate together, and I promise this is only the beginning." They shared the cake slowly, savoring each bite. The sweet, glowing fruit inside it was unlike anything Ethan had ever tasted, and he marveled at the flavors. Lyria watched him with delight, laughing softly at his expressions of surprise and pleasure. For her, it was a small miracle, someone enjoying what she had made, someone caring enough to be there. After they finished the cake, Lyria led Ethan outside. The stars were beginning to twinkle in the deepening sky, and the forest around them shimmered under their light. She showed him her favorite places: the river that glowed faintly in the night, the towering trees, and the fields of luminescent flowers. Ethan listened attentively, asking questions and marveling at every detail. "You have an incredible world," he said, his voice full of awe. I can't believe I'm here seeing it with my own eyes. You must feel very lucky to have it all to yourself, but also a little lonely, maybe? Lyria nodded, her gaze falling to the ground. Yes, lonely, she admitted, but I've learned to find joy in it. I've waited, I've hoped, and now I've finally met someone who understands. Ethan smiled softly. And I'm glad I found you, Lyria. You've shown me that even in the quietest, loneliest places, there's beauty and strength. You've been brave to wait and patient to hope. That's something not everyone can do. For the first time in years, Lyria felt truly seen. Not just noticed, but truly understood. She had spent so long imagining friends, wondering if anyone cared, and now here was someone who not only cared, but had traveled across the stars to be with her. They sat by the river as the night deepened, sharing stories. Lyria told Ethan about the forest, the creatures that lived there, and the ways she had celebrated her birthday alone for 7 years. Ethan shared stories of his travels across distant planets, the beings he had met, and the wonders of the galaxy he had seen. Each tale built a bridge between their worlds, connecting human and alien in a way that felt natural and deep. At one point, Lyria asked, Do humans usually celebrate birthdays like this? Ethan chuckled softly. Sometimes, he said. But I think what makes a celebration special isn't the cake or decorations. It's sharing the moment with someone you care about. That's why I came today. Because this moment right now is important. It's about you and your hope and finally, someone being here with you. Lyria's eyes shimmered. She had spent so many years imagining this, and yet the reality was even more beautiful than her dreams. The warmth of connection, the laughter, and the simple joy of sharing made her heart feel full. After a while, Ethan stood and held out his hand. Come with me, he said. I want to show you something. Curious, Lyria followed him through the forest. They walked along the glowing paths past fields of flowers that lit their way. Ethan paused at a small clearing and pointed upward. Above them, the sky stretched wide, filled with countless stars and distant galaxies. Look, he said softly. Out there in all those stars, there are beings just like us, hoping, dreaming, waiting for connection. And some of them, like me, will find their way to someone special. You've waited a long time, Lyria, and now you're not alone anymore. Lyria gazed upward, her large eyes reflecting the light of the galaxies. She felt small in the vast universe, yet for the first time she felt powerful, strong, and connected. The loneliness of 7 years faded in that moment, replaced by a sense of wonder and belonging. They returned to her home, where the faint glow of the crystals and decorations made the room feel alive with warmth. Lyria felt a deep sense of gratitude toward Ethan. Thank you, she whispered, for coming, for being here, for everything. Ethan smiled gently. No, thank you, he replied, for teaching me that hope and patience can create magic, for showing me a world I never imagined existed, and for letting me share this day with you. Today isn't just your birthday, it's a new beginning. As the night grew darker, Lyria and Ethan sat together quietly. The hum of the forest, the glow of the stars, and the soft warmth of their connection filled the space around them. Lyria knew that from this day forward, she would never be truly alone again. She had waited 7 years, and finally someone had arrived. Someone who cared, someone who understood. And for the first time, Lyria allowed herself to dream even bigger. The galaxy was wide, full of possibilities, and now she had a companion to explore it with. Friendships, adventures, and shared moments awaited her, and she felt ready to embrace them all. The night passed slowly, filled with quiet conversation and laughter. Lyria felt joy unlike anything she had known in years. She realized that hope, patience, and kindness were never wasted, even if it took 7 years for them to be rewarded. When she finally lay down to sleep that night, Lyria smiled, knowing that tomorrow the galaxy would feel just a little brighter, and that her birthday, for the first time in 7 years, had been truly magical. The next morning, Lyria woke to the soft glow of her crystal, decorations reflecting the light of the twin suns. She stretched, her silver skin catching the warm rays, and smiled as she thought about the previous day. For the first time in 7 long years, she had not been alone on her birthday. The memory of Ethan, his gentle voice, and his kind eyes brought a warmth to her heart she had never known. She moved through her home with a sense of purpose, arranging decorations and preparing a few small treats as a way to share her joy. But today felt different from all the other birthdays. Yesterday had been magical, but today carried a new feeling, possibility. She had learned that the universe could respond to hope, even if it took years. And now that someone had come, she wondered what other surprises might await her. Outside, the forest shimmered under the morning light. The glowing birds sang their soft melodies, and the luminescent flowers seemed to lean toward the sun, their petals sparkling as if they shared her excitement. Lyria wandered through the forest, greeting her familiar creatures and sharing her joy with them. For the first time, the world around her seemed to join in her happiness. As she returned home, she saw a small trail of footprints in the soft soil. Her heart leapt. Could it be Ethan returning? She ran to the clearing where she had first met him, scanning the sky and the forest edges. To her delight, she saw him walking toward her, carrying a small bundle of supplies. His smile was bright and welcoming, and his eyes sparkled with curiosity and excitement. "Good morning, Lyria," he called out warmly. "I thought I would come early and see more of your world before the suns rise too high." Lyria's smile widened. "Good morning, Ethan. I'm glad you're here." She gestured for him to follow her inside her home. "Come, I've prepared a few treats for us." Ethan's eyes lit up as he stepped inside. He glanced around at the decorations, the small carved statues and the glowing crystals that lined the walls. "You've made this place so welcoming," he said softly. "It feels alive, like it belongs to the world itself," Lyria nodded. "I've always tried to make my home a place of joy even when I'm alone, but it's different with someone else here." They shared a small breakfast, laughing and talking about their favorite things. Ethan asked about her favorite stars and planets, and Lyria described the ones she longed to see. She spoke of the forests she loved, the rivers that glowed at night, and the creatures that filled her world with life. Ethan listened carefully, asking questions and marveling at every detail. After breakfast, they decided to explore the forest together. Ethan followed Lyria along paths she had traveled countless times, but today she felt as though she were seeing everything anew. With him by her side, the familiar sights became more vibrant, more alive. They reached the glowing river, its waters shimmering in shades of blue and silver. Lyria knelt by the edge, dipping her fingers into the cool liquid. Ethan knelt beside her, doing the same. "This is incredible," he whispered. "I've never seen anything like it." Lyria smiled, her eyes shining. "It's always been here," she said, "but it feels special when someone else sees it with me." As they continued their walk, they heard soft sounds approaching. At first, Lyria tensed, unsure who it could be. But then, from the forest edges, small figures appeared, other travelers who had heard whispers of the lonely alien girl and her unusual world. Some were humans like Ethan, while others were beings from distant planets, curious and friendly. Lyria froze, overwhelmed by the sudden crowd. For 7 years, she had celebrated alone. The idea that others had come, simply to meet her, was almost too much to comprehend. But Ethan stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's okay, Lyria," he said gently. "These people are here because they want to meet you, just like I did." Slowly, Lyria stepped forward to greet them. Her voice trembled slightly, but she spoke with a quiet courage. "Hello," she said softly. I've waited a long time for someone to come. Thank you for being here." The travelers smiled warmly, introducing themselves one by one. They spoke of the stories they had heard about her, of the beauty of her planet, and of the hope and patience she had shown. Lyria listened, amazed that her small life, her long years of waiting, had touched others across the galaxy. Ethan joined her, smiling. "See, your hope was not in vain," he said softly. "You've shown everyone that patience and kindness matter, and now look at this, friends just as you always dreamed." Lyria felt tears welling in her eyes, but she didn't try to hide them. She laughed softly, the sound full of relief and joy. I never imagined this," she said. "I thought I would always be alone." "You're not alone anymore," Ethan said, his eyes warm. "Not today, not ever again. You've opened your heart, and now the galaxy is responding." The travelers settled near Lyria's home, and together they shared stories, food, and laughter. Lyria watched as different beings marveled at the glowing forest, the rivers, and the night sky. She realized that her world, which had felt lonely for so long, was now alive with connection. As night fell, the stars shimmered more brightly than ever. Lyria led the travelers to the clearing where she had first met Ethan. Together they lit the star-shaped candle, the flame dancing in the gentle wind. Ethan smiled at her and she smiled back, feeling a deep sense of belonging. "This is beautiful," she whispered. I never imagined so many people could share this with me." "You've always deserved it," Ethan replied. "All the waiting, all the patience, it led to this moment, and it's only the beginning." The travelers shared gifts, small tokens of their worlds, simple gestures of friendship and appreciation. Lyria accepted each one with gratitude, realizing that even though she had been alone for 7 years, the galaxy had not forgotten her. It had only been waiting for the right time to respond. As the night deepened, Lyria and Ethan sat together, gazing at the stars. "Do you think this is really just the beginning?" she asked softly. Ethan nodded. "Yes," he said. "Friendship, understanding, and connection are like stars themselves. They may seem distant at times, but they are always there, waiting to shine when the time is right." Lyria leaned back, her eyes reflecting the countless stars above. She felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of peace and happiness she had never known. The loneliness of 7 years was gone, replaced by a quiet joy and the promise of future adventures. In the days that followed, the travelers stayed, exploring Lyria's world, learning its secrets and sharing their own. The forests were filled with laughter, the rivers sparkled under the twin suns, and the night sky glimmered with more light than ever before. Lyria's home became a hub of friendship, curiosity, and joy. She discovered that the galaxy was full of beings who were kind, curious, and willing to share their lives with others. She realized that her patience and hope had created something extraordinary, not just a birthday celebration, but a community, a family that spanned planets and species. Ethan remained by her side, teaching her about Earth, humans, and the wonders of distant worlds. He learned from her as well, discovering the beauty of patience, kindness, and the strength that comes from hope. Together, they explored, laughed, and dreamed, each day deepening their bond. One evening, as the twin suns set and the first stars appeared, Lyria looked around at the forest filled with friends from across the galaxy. She felt a deep sense of gratitude. The years of waiting, the quiet celebrations alone, and the hope that had never wavered had all led to this moment. She turned to Ethan, who stood beside her, his eyes reflecting the glow of the stars. "Thank you," she whispered. "For coming, for staying, for helping me see that I am not alone." Ethan smiled gently. "No, Lyria," he replied. "Thank you for showing me the beauty of hope, patience, and friendship. You've reminded me that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, connection is possible." Lyria looked out at the stars, feeling a sense of wonder and excitement for the future. She knew that the galaxy was vast and that there were countless adventures ahead. But for now, she was content, surrounded by friends, laughter, and the quiet glow of a world that finally felt alive with connection. And as the night deepened, the forest whispered its approval, the stars twinkled brighter, and Lyria felt a joy so deep it filled every corner of her being. 7 years of waiting had brought her here, to this moment of wonder, friendship, and hope. From that day forward, Lyria's birthdays were never lonely. Travelers came from across the galaxy to celebrate with her, sharing stories, laughter, and dreams. Her home became a place of learning, connection, and joy, a shining example of what hope, patience, and kindness could create. Lyria often looked up at the night sky, thinking of the stars, the galaxies, and the countless beings she had yet to meet. But she knew no matter how far the universe stretched, she would never be alone again. For she had discovered something more powerful than distance or time, the power of hope, friendship, and the human and alien spirit that could light even the darkest corners of the galaxy. And every year, as she lit the star-shaped candle on her birthday, she did so with a heart full of joy, surrounded by friends, laughter, and love. The lonely alien girl of 7 years ago had become a symbol of hope, a reminder to the galaxy that patience, kindness, and courage could create magic. And somewhere in the distance, as the twin suns set and the stars shone above, Lyria smiled, knowing that the universe had finally answered her long-held hope.